David Buurma here. We're going to talk today about some foundational truths or some foundations that you should have in your life. And some of y'all may have heard of it. And we break it down, we call it the 4 F's. It's family, faith, fitness, and finance. Now, what I would like y'all to do is look at those 4 things: family, faith, fitness, and finance, and categorize yourself in 0 to 10 how you are doing currently in those areas. Are you highly focused, or are you super weak in those areas? After we're all done, we will relook at it one more time, and we want to categorize it one more time how you're all doing in these areas. So we're going to talk about family. And now, what does family actually mean for y'all? So you're raised and had some values in your life, and you basically could have took those values and took them into a relationship and expected that your spouse or your significant other also were adapted to some similar values. And the problem with that mindset and that kind of thinking is that the chances of that being actually true is very, very low. We have been all raised under certain values that we just adapt as being true. And what those values are quite often the values that are underneath this. So what did your family, how they look at faith? How they look at finance? How they look at fitness? Did they have, ice cream and cookies all the time? Were they all Catholics, right? Did you care about finances? Were you all working like from paycheck to paycheck? And so if you were a Catholic and you go and get married to somebody from Islam, well, if you ignore that and think it's unimportant, it might work for a few years, but what happens, it will eventually catch up to you. In other words, your children will be 4 or 5, 6 years old, and you'll be like, I got to bring them to church, or how am I going to raise my children? What kind of values are they going to have, right? And values that we all consist to have usually have some kind of religious belief, foundationally. Even if you don't believe in religion, they will have some foundational of religion and beliefs. And so as you try to adapt that now into your family, you're going to have a hard time doing this. And where it comes back down to, especially when I talk to you men out there, you're going into a relationship. You think she's beautiful. She thinks she's hot. You like her. You're interested. And what happens is that because you haven't defined this for yourself and got clarity on yourself, these are the conversations you should be having on the first 1 or 2 dates you're on with your girl. So the question is how are you addressing this in your own family? Maybe it's chaos right now. Are you showing up and leading out and understanding where your family is going? Are they going off a cliff because they have no clear agenda, no clear values in which they're going towards? And so therefore your children are on social media, they're playing games all night, and they don't even know because you have decided not to show up in their life. That's where it comes down to as a family. Where are you leading your family? You have to be in life. You have to be intentional as to where you're going. Otherwise, I promise you, the world will take your children to the destiny. By the way, quite often in life, you keep on saying to your children, listen to your teachers. Your teachers never say to you, to your kids. Your teachers never say to your kids, listen to your parents. And so quite often what you're doing is you're creating the behavior and styles in your children that aren't even clear to your values because you don't even know them yourself. So that's the family part. Get very clear about where your family's going and start leading out on that. Moving on to faith. Faith is a big one. And quite often in our society, it's quite often ignored because we're supposed to be neutral, unbiased, not have an opinion, all these kind of things. And what happens when you have a breakdown on faith? You have a degradation of your society at large. The one thing that quite often tyrannical governments want is a country that has no faith. They want to be the leaders. They want to be the kings. And everything they want their viewpoint as to them as being the leader, the person that will guide and lead your life and be the decision maker. The problem with that is that power corrupts. And it will never lead any society in a good direction, a healthy direction. There also are countries, politicians that weaponize faith. And I would say there's also churches that weaponize faith, by the way. So when I speak about all these things, foundational truths is what I'm looking for in all these instances. When you come to family, faith, fitness, and finance, it's foundational truths you're looking for. Wherever you go, don't just go along with the leader of that faith. You have to go research it. There actually is biblical. It says, seek out your own salvation with fear and trembling. That means you actually go as a leader in your own family or your own self go seek out that foundational truth with fear and trembling. You go and seek that out. And that's how you're supposed to look at everything in your life, right? These things, you have to go and seek out the truth yourself, and you're not spending enough time on them. So let's go on. Fitness. Let's talk about fitness. Now, I would say balance is key. And I hate the word balance personally because everybody has their own balance, okay? What one person feels fit is going for a 10-mile run. That might not be your fitness. Your fitness might be for your body type, might be, benching 200 pounds, right? That's cool. But what I'm saying is that if you're a 10 in fitness and you're a 0 in faith, you're not a balanced person. And so I'm not talking about finding your balance as far as your own health is concerned. There is a sense of that also, but where are you categorized? Because you'll see all these gurus talking about, oh, you got to be fit. And that everything in their life is about being fit. And as long as I'm not fit, I'm not a masculine dude, as an example. There's actually a good book to listen to from Lewis Howes, and he talks about the mask of masculinity. In other words, men quite often build a mask around what they look like and their image to society as defining their masculinity. In other words, they'll go towards fitness, and I'm a very fit guy, and so therefore, I should be recognized as a very masculine guy. There'll be a guy that's very successful. Look at my Lamborghini, all that kind of stuff. Therefore, I'm a very masculine guy. Or they'll have, you see the celebrities or the men that have lots of girlfriends and can get a girlfriend. And that's really easy for them and that kind of stuff. And that's their definition of masculinity, right? So the balance I'm talking about is understanding what your body needs and how are you balanced out your life and your focus on the rest of the areas of your life. 80% of being fit is your diet. So why is it so hard for people to have their diet right? I don't know, but it takes discipline, right? And it takes work. It's so easy to go and have a bowl of cereal, right? Than to cook up a steak properly. It's very difficult, right? And when you're hungry in your last minute, you just want to go and eat that bowl of cereal or that chocolate bar or whatever. Anything that's quick and available typically is not good, right? There is preparation for those that want to be fit to do meal planning, that kind of stuff. Anyways, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how you're supposed to be fit and your fitness is supposed to be in line. I'll tell you though, for myself, having a live-in caregiver for myself, I have somebody that cooks for me every day, that solves the majority of my ability to be fit because everything she makes is already pre-planned. She cooks it, she makes it, I eat it. I'm 80% of the way there already. So that's the one thing I would suggest in that fitness part. Moving on to finance. The biggest struggle out there is, I believe, living beyond your means. You cannot go and save money and invest money if you're already living beyond your means. And I was just thinking about this a little bit ago. It wasn't until I was a millionaire that I actually bought a vehicle that was over $5,000. So up until that point, I was always driving a vehicle that was a piece of junk. Now, it functioned well for me. And another thing I always said, always drive a vehicle that if you pushed it off the cliff, you would not feel bad about it. In other words, if you can take that vehicle you own and you can throw it away tomorrow and it's not going to affect your bottom line, you have the right vehicle, right? And that's what always bothered me. These rich people that have a Lamborghini and they're worried about the scratches on it. Like, honestly, if you have the money for a Lamborghini, you should also have enough money that you can see it fall away, get broken, anything happen to you, you don't really care. All right. Going on from there, working. Like a lot of people are working 8 hours a day and you're wondering why you don't have enough money. You're young. If you're young, work. You can work 16 hours. It's fine. Go find extra jobs. Find ways of performing even more for your boss and get even a higher pay. And what I notice in life, those that are willing to work longer hours get paid more per hour. So in the contrary of how it should show up, in other words, the people that need the money the most are working the least amount of hours. If you work longer hours, chances are your boss is going to recognize that and pay you more accordingly. So those are the basic things that I would suggest in the 4 F's, which I call family, faith, fitness, and finance. Those are the 4 things. Those are the 4 areas that I recommend. Now, as I've finished this up, relook at that list. Categorize yourself again, 0 to 10, and tell me again, where do you see yourself now from 0 to 10? I will tell you, if you keep on working these 4 areas of your life continually for the rest of your life, you will see your life exponentially get better year over year over year. And you will find also the people that will circle your life and be in your circles will also be people that also have focus on their 4 F's in their life. So family, faith, fitness, and finance. And those people will also align with your values over a period of time. So it's a beautiful thing to work on. It's a thing I've worked on for the last 10 years as I've known. And let me know in your comments below. Just hit a like if you like this and subscribe. We'll have new content like this coming out to you every single day.